Hello, my name is Amelia Winters. I'm a professional fiction editor who specializes in both story and sentence-level editing. Since I work directly with authors, I get a lot of questions about the editing process and how the different editing levels work. I've made this video to help make those answers easier to find. Over the next few minutes, I'll break down the different fiction editing levels and how they all work so that you are better equipped to pursue an editing and publishing process that works best for your needs and goals. Now, a lot of people have a single idea of what editing means, and it usually doesn't account for all the complexities that go into fiction editing. This lack of clarity around the different types of editing makes it easy for authors to hire the wrong editor, not because there's something wrong with the editor, but because the author started their search looking for the wrong type of editor for the writing stage and publishing goals. That's why I try really hard in my website and blog, and now on this channel, to educate authors about the nuances of fiction editing and how it all works. There are specifically 4 levels of editing. You may have heard the terms line editor, copy editor, and proofreader floating around, but let's be honest, none of those terms sound very distinct. Once upon a time, I too thought they all meant the same thing, and they don't. If you're interested in pursuing professional editing, it's important to understand what these different types of edits are so that you can pick the service that will best meet your needs and goals. So the first thing to know is that all fiction editing exists on a spectrum. On one end is broad story-level editing, and on the other end is specific, nitpicky sentence-level editing. One of the things that makes editing levels tricky to define is that because editing exists on a spectrum, the lines between each level can easily blur. Even so, as editors, we do our best to compartmentalize each level of editing separately, so we can then really home in on specific topics and edit as efficiently as possible. So the first level we'll talk about is the broadest level of editing, developmental editing. A developmental edit looks at the story itself, its plot structure, pacing, setting, character development, narrative techniques, and themes. Here are some examples of questions that developmental editors look at. Is the first scene gripping? Are there any plot holes or unresolved subplots? Are the characters believable and well developed? Is there a good balance of scene and summary, also known as showing and telling? Is there enough tension and intrigue to keep the reader engaged? Are the novel's themes impactful? Is the ending satisfying? Addressing story-level issues often involves making major changes to the text. You may need to rewrite, reorder, and even remove or add whole scenes. If you try to perfect your sentences before you're done editing for story-level concerns, you risk wasting a lot of time and effort on sentences that might end up being removed anyway. Editing the story will change the sentences, but editing the sentences won't change the story. That's why you should focus on editing the story first and the sentences second. Now, another important thing to note is that many traditional publishers don't do story-level editing anymore. They get so many submissions nowadays that they're able to accept only the rare manuscripts that don't need much or any developmental editing. As an investment, it's cheaper if the publisher can skip this editing stage, and it's less risky to take on a book that's guaranteed to be good. That's why developmental editing is often a great choice to help prepare your manuscript for submission to agents and publishers. After developmental editing, the next level is stylistic editing. At least in Canada, where I'm from, we call it stylistic editing. Elsewhere in the world, you've probably heard this level referred to as line editing, but they're the same thing. Stylistic, or line editing, is all about clarity, coherence, and flow. In fiction, a stylistic edit often covers issues such as, is there any clunky or awkward phrasing? Are the transitions between ideas smooth? Is each line of dialogue realistic, and are the speech tags unobtrusive? Is each piece of figurative language compelling? Does the language match the mood and tone of the scene? As you can probably tell, this level of editing starts to look at the specific sentences, but the focus is on how well the sentences convey the author's artistic vision. The focus is not yet on technical things like grammar and punctuation. Some stylistic concerns can also apply to story-level editing too, such as figurative language and dialogue realism. Since stylistic editing can complement both developmental and copy editing, editors often combine stylistic editing into their developmental or offer copy editing services, so just keep your eye open for that when you're looking at an editor's services. The next level of editing is copy editing, and it's what most authors imagine when they hear the word editing. It's a highly technical edit that examines grammar, spelling, punctuation, basic factual correctness, and editorial style. Editorial style refers to the editorial choices that are unique to a given text, such as hyphenation style and capitalization style. Your editor will record all those editorial choices within a style sheet that should come with your final edited manuscript. A professional copy-edited manuscript should come with this style sheet. And even if you never use the style sheet yourself, your proofreader definitely will, as will any copy editor you hire for future books in the same series. So, if you're self-publishing, it's important that you get and hold onto your manuscript style sheet. Before we get to the final level of editing, do note that after a copy edit, your press will format your manuscript's text into the internal pages of the final book. That formatting stage is called the typeset. Even though another round of edits is coming up after the typeset, all your tweaks and changes need to be done before you start formatting. Something as simple as adding a sentence can have a domino effect and create a lot more work for the typesetter. To avoid an extra large typesetting bill, many traditional presses won't allow you to make any changes to the manuscript after the copy edit. If you're self-publishing, you too should think of the copy edit as your last chance for changes to avoid any frustrating complications in the typeset. Once the typeset is finished, a PDF of the formatted document, called the proofs, is sent to the proofreader. And now we've come to the final level of editing, proofreading. Proofreading is the last check to snuff out any finicky remaining errors. Proofreaders look for basic technical correctness in grammar, punctuation, spelling, usage, and editorial style. But unlike copy editing, proofreading also looks at the formatting for consistency and readability. Proofreaders also edit much more lightly than copy editors because, as I already mentioned, any large changes in this stage are costly. Something you should also keep in mind is that many authors mix up proofreading and copy editing, often asking for a proofread when what they're really looking for is a copy edit. Now, the two terms sound really similar, so to help you remember which is which, know that the word copy refers to your manuscript's unformatted text. The word proofs refers to the manuscript's formatted text. So if you are looking for a technical sentence level edit and your manuscript is not yet formatted into its final book layout, just keep in mind that you're looking for a copy editor, not a proofreader. That distinction will help you a lot in your search for the right editor for your manuscript. So there you have it. The 4 levels of fiction editing are developmental editing, stylistic editing, copy editing, and proofreading. I started out this video telling you that I'm a story and sentence level editor. Now I can tell you that I'm specifically a developmental, stylistic, and copy editor, and hopefully those words all actually mean something to you now. And don't forget that as an author, you can also apply these concepts to make your self-editing process more effective and efficient. With your own edits, just remember to start broad, with story-level concerns first, and then gradually work your way down to the more nitpicky sentence-level edits. It'll make your self-editing process smoother and more efficient. If you're interested in getting in touch about potential editing things, I've left links to my professional website and contact page below. I'm always happy to answer any questions you may have, and so until next time, happy writing, everyone.